While the 318 and 360 Magnum wasn't totally rejected by the Mopar crowd, it wasn't totally accepted either, and I believe I have the reason why right here in my hands. We used to have a Plymouth Dodge dealership right in this small little town. It's been long gone, but I remember when the Magnum was going to first come out, I was up at the Chrysler dealership, Plymouth Dodge, whatever, and I remember one of the guys came up to me and said, "Hey, let you in on something. They're coming out with a Magnum 318, which actually came out in 1992. And I was like, I had a lot of interest in it. And I'm like, wow. And they're like, yeah, it's going to be in the Dakota too. And I heard it's a real hot rod. Well, in that era, it really was a hot rod when it came out. But people were kind of hyped and excited when they heard the news about a Magnum 318 coming out. And the 360 followed the year later. But in real short time, they learned to like, why? And I'll show you what. For years, one of the things that the Mopar guys always had that they put their thumb on top of the Chevy guys was the rocker arm shafts. The rocker arm shafts. And it really was, it's truly, I love the rocker arm shaft. It was really something that the Mopar guys had in their corner, amongst many things. But that was one of the things that was often brought up. When the Magnum came out, when they lifted up the valve cover, little bit of GM in there, pedestal rockers. And I remember the revolt. They were throwing a fit because now all of a sudden, aha, what about your rocker arm shafts? And the resentment over that one part on the Magnum engine cast a cloud that I personally saw, not my opinion, what I personally saw amongst the Mopar crowd, what was written in the magazines, the comments. We didn't have online, guys. There was no internet, no YouTube. There was no postings on Mopar sites or threads. It was all what you read in the magazines or what you verbally talked to your friends, whether it be the drag strip, car show, coffee shop. It didn't matter. Fair or unfair, why or why not, that's what they did. That's what the engineers did, and that's what they put on the Magnum. And thus, while many people have run the Magnum and many out there love the Magnum, I'm one of them. I'm a huge 5.2, 5.9 Magnum Mopar fan. I've owned several of them. We can talk about that for a minute. But many, the haze came over. Because we now oil different and we don't have rocker shafts up there at the upper half of the valve train. I have some very cool stuff. Let's go into the van where it's quiet and we'll talk about this. If you want to know what we did before the internet, right here, the magazines, I couldn't even remember where mine were. It took me a long time to find them. I began to think they got thrown out, but there was a couple of things I remember, articles, and I want to just share a couple of them with you. So here in this edition, we have a 92 Dakota, get the reflection off it, matched up against a Firebird, a Mustang, and I guess the skinny of the story is this 318 Magnum with a 390 sure grip and the automatic overdrive outran them. And then, of course, in the middle of the article, they would throw in this. This is supposed to be, if I remember, I didn't really read it again, but I remember the article, stock. But, of course, you could add 24 horse just by a simple 5-minute computer swap. But this is the kind of stuff that you'd find in the magazines and the selling point of the power of it. And I think this one here ran 14, let's see here, $14.95. at 92 mile an hour, which back in this day and hour, wow, that was really respectable, especially for a truck. Again, they were throwing it up against Firebirds and Mustangs and beating them. So here was a common advertisement you would find in the magazines, how to raise your horsepower, and this was all promoted by Mopar Performance. And in this edition, they're talking about the return of the Magnum, and it's really kind of funny. Here is the rocker arm. I don't know if you guys will be able to focus in and read this. It talks about the valve train of these new engines is a fast departure from the usual Mopar practice. Say goodbye to the shaft-mounted stamp steel rockers. Hello to the pedestal mounts and individual. And there lied the problem, and a lot of the people who turned their head and walked away from it. And another article about the 318 Magnum 92 powered Dakota. Over here it talks about the 230 net horsepower, which is only 10 behind the 72 340 horsepower, and 280 foot-pounds of torque. So in general, it ran about like a 72, 73, 340 was about the power that they made. And thus leading to, even to this day, there's many Mopar people that'll step over $200 Magnums to get to that $300 LA. And there's aftermarket rockers support for these. You can go to aftermarket rockers, and some people even drill these out and go to a bigger mounting stud. So there's ways to improve on this, or go LA head. Currently in my fleet, the only two Magnums I have in service right now is there's a stock 5.9 in this van, and also we have the Bombsicle 5.9 in our 80 Dodge truck. This still has those stamped steel factory pedestal rockers on it. Nothing's been changed up here. We threw this, well, I call it a 200,000 mile Magnum. When we bought it, it had over 198,000 on it, and off of Craigslist for $150. And we put it inside here with just nothing more. We didn't even take the oil pan off of it. Nothing more than well, the Hughes valve springs and the organ regrind cam. And it's been in the old truck now for over 5 years, and zero issue with it. Zero. And it's run a 1290 in the truck. And I remember people trying to get their darts and dusters in the 12s with their LA 360s and 340s, struggling. We've had them in the trucks, the Durangos, whatever, and I've had many of them with 200,000. In fact, my last white Ram I sold was a 01, 326,000, and ran like new. One thing I found is no matter the miles, that don't seem to matter, 200,000, everybody who pulls the heads off of a Magnum always finds the factory crosshatch in the cylinder hone. And there's basically never a ridge on the top. You can just take the pistons right on out. It's just amazing to me that these are so available all over marketplace and in vehicles for cheap that run good. Just grab a Magnum. They work, and they're tough.